there are some companies who say, all I can worry about is making payroll. I can't even be thinking about how we could possibly consider the work-life needs of our employees. I think that's pretty short-sighted. There's a lot of evidence that in the short term that might make sense, but in the long term there'll be a price to pay in terms of keeping high-quality talent. Hopefully this global recession is not going to go on forever, and when things do turn around, who are you going to have available to do the work that you need to do? I think more forward-thinking companies have sort of seen this as an opportunity to show ways that maybe for not a lot of cost, but they can be creative in demonstrating that employees really are a very high priority. What can they do to support them? How can they make them more resilient? What are the things that they can do to help them through these difficult times?
I think in some companies, there's one cluster that will say, you're lucky to have a job. Job security is work life and a paycheck and work long hours, and please don't ask us about work-life balance. We really want work-life integration where you're going to be working all the time or taking work home, particularly for professionals. I think there's another group of companies that are strong culture companies that were doing work-family not as a fad, but because it was part of really how they were viewing the employment relationship of investing in people. I think in those companies they're trying off sabbaticals and sort of shared time off where rather than firing a worker, we will let you have job security if you have a 1 or 2 weeks where you're going on vacation. And in some of those companies, they're re-looking at work processes and saying, now's the time to retool. Let's look at our work systems. We can't keep doing things the same old way. Workloads are rising. Let's re-engineer work and become a results-oriented workplace where we get rid of low-value work and try and have new work systems.
So some people are saying in terms of our human resource systems, we just need to take a fundamental look at what we're doing and try to do things differently. So what I'm hearing is a lot of organizations are thinking about basic issues like how we train people, how we help them become employable, so that if they do lose their jobs, they really have the skills and the attitudes to do a good search, to explore, to get research and information. So they're talking about equipping people better to deal with crisis and stress.
And I think many policies will be suspended. In my own university, for example, there are instances where they were giving scholarships to students, and they have all been suspended for a 2-year period. My colleague has an endowed chair, and she has been told that the money has been suspended for 2 years. So I know in many companies, particularly in Canada, the automotive industry has been very hard hit, and people have even lost their jobs, not only had policies suspended.
There are a couple of pressures. One of them that you mentioned is the need to perform with fewer resources. As more and more people are let go, that means more work falls on the remaining individuals. So there is this pressure to perform, and as a result of that, people are working harder, and people probably are less willing to publicly complain, at least, about the workload. But the pressure to do more with less is not the only stress, it's not the only pressure. The other one is the uncertainty, because their job may be next. Which is one reason why they're working harder. So I think what people, I'm not saying that they are doing this, but I think that people should be doing this in terms of the reaction to the situation, is to control, to manage their careers proactively, to continue to develop skills that are marketable, that are transferable, because in today's economy, although many jobs are being lost, other jobs are being created. I think the real challenge is going to be in these difficult times with the pressure to do more for less is how will individuals achieve new employment and maintain that employment on the one hand while attaining the balance in their life that they want to achieve that's appropriate for them.
Employees are finding themselves in very difficult situations, in part because they are very fearful about their job security. Some of the recent work that the Center on Aging and Work has completed, we have found the employees reporting increase in workload. They are reporting decreases in supervisor support. But the interesting result that we're finding is employees of different ages are responding in different ways. For example, around measures of employee engagement, older workers are sustaining their engagement through these difficult times.
When we have an economy that's undergoing a crisis like this, if one partner loses his or her job, both careers can be placed in jeopardy, and most American families are operating with very few reserves. And so what happens is there is a considerable fear for employees, and they will take on additional responsibilities. They'll work into the weekends. And so there's certainly this intensification of work, and there is a fear factor that underpins this, because the risks of losing one's job, and particularly in the United States, means oftentimes coming to the floor with no savings or few savings, large debts, losing health insurance, and also losing a home. And so that's a very serious problem.
Many people are in a state of fear. And so this will lead one to work more hours, to try to look like a better employee, to try to help to keep my job, than at other times where it might seem like economic conditions are better off. So yes, there's a higher pressure to perform. And at the same time, there's been a long-term trend among companies just to try to foster, while they have the family-friendly policies on their website, they also try to foster what's been called a long work hours culture. We need people to stay around, or if not physically around, we need you to be available on your BlackBerry or your email or wherever you might be. And what ends up helping them to hold their jobs most is not the fact that they've achieved a satisfactory sense of work-life balance, but it's whether their employers see them as having been productive. So overall, I think this is a really tough time for organizations to go and try to offer family-friendly benefits.
I think it will depend on the people. Every person is different. And then if they are well trained in time management, they will be able to keep on balancing their lives. Otherwise, it's very difficult, because many times it is not to do more or less hours, but to do the hours in the right way and in the right place. Sometimes you can do things at home, sometimes you need to be in the office.